Hi, everyone, and welcome to A Seat at the Bar. I'm your host, Skylar Campbell. In today's episode, I had the pleasure of getting to chat with SCDC artist Jordana Daumec. Born in New York, Jordana trained at Studio Maestro in New York City and Canada's National Ballet School in Toronto. She joined the National Ballet of Canada as an apprentice in 2003 and has been a first soloist with the company since 2015. Jordana is a true class act, and I had so much fun getting to chat with her today. In this episode, we spoke a lot about our mothers, so I wanted to take this as a moment to give a huge shout out to all the moms out there today on Mother's Day. I remember, and I'm sure others that grew up dancing can relate, countless hours spent in the car driving from academic school to ballet class with quick stops in between at the drive-thru just to get lunch. These moments may have seemed mundane, but looking back, they were some of the most formative and memorable times I spent with my mom. Without a doubt, I wouldn't be where I'm at today without her wisdom and guidance. So again, enjoy this day with whoever you're with and whoever you call mom. Jordana, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
Gray day in Toronto. It feels like winter again. Yeah, I feel like there's so much we can talk about together, and I want to try to cover it all because I have so much admiration and respect for everything you embody inside and outside the studio. First, I want to talk to you a little bit about your early life growing up in New York City. Did you ever think you'd end up in Toronto?
I totally did not. I always thought I was going to be a full-on, city kid in the States somewhere. And it was actually my teacher, Christina Fagundes, who was a soloist with American Ballet Theater, who told me about the school up here because she knew that I wanted to do classical and balancing and contemporary. So she was the one that told me about the school. So if it wasn't for her, I would have never known about the school or the company. So big shout out to her.
Amazing. So you started, I feel like you were moving from, the very beginning of the womb, so to speak. What was your path through kind of your training, I guess, in New York? Why the schools that you decided to go to there, and then you obviously that teacher recommended you MBS and spoke to you about the National Ballet being probably a good place for you. What was that sort of journey like?
Yeah, well, it mostly started, my mom was a modern dancer, so I grew up surrounding in the arts. I was in their rehearsals, sitting and watching all the time, and sort of just picked up on it. And once my parents really knew that I wanted to do ballet, I was a very strong-minded child. It was more like telling them I was going to do ballet versus asking them. They had going to just little schools, how we all just do our little schools around our neighborhoods. And then I wound up actually going to a few different schools, like New Jersey School of Ballet. I was there for a bit.
Oh, wow.
Scranton, I was there for a bit. And then we found Studio Maestro, is what it used to be called, and I forget what the name of the school is now, on the Upper West Side, and that's where I did most of my serious training. And it was crazy. I went to school downtown.
So you were commuting on the subway?
On the well, I was commuting when we were in New York City. I was commuting on the trains by myself. Wow. But when we had moved to Pennsylvania for a little bit, so my parents were literally pick me up early from school because I would get out to do my gym class was my ballet class.
Right,
and then right. Drive me to Jersey, or they would drive me into Manhattan, or wherever my school was at that time. So we were literally the car family, homework and food and changing in the car.
But you got a little city experience, and you know, and you got to live the suburban life too. You got the best of
Oh,
both.
yeah. We got both. I chopped wood, and I had my pizza every day on the corner in Manhattan also.
Perfect. Amazing. So
it
you kind of
was fun.
decided, you were like, I'm dancing,
Oh
and
yeah.
this
Yeah, yeah.
is what I want to do. Um, how was your mother an inspiration to you through that? Because she was a dancer herself, and um, I want to talk a little bit about both of our moms being
Yeah.
dancers and how they, you know, transitioned out of dance so gracefully and became successful in their respective fields now. How was she an inspiration to you as a young dancer and now as a professional?
Yeah. As a young dancer, she was basically the reason why I was even introduced to the art form in general. Like I wouldn't have been surrounded by that on a daily basis if it wasn't for my mom. Her work ethic and her dedication and just her own artistry and vision was the thing that ignited the flame in myself. So she really taught me that, and she taught me like you don't quit even if it's hard. Like if you dedicate yourself to something, you really have to dedicate yourself to it. Like if you're not going
Hmm.
to, then don't waste your time on it. Like find something that you love. And
Yeah.
I think like seeing her like working every day at that was inspiring and taught me how to do that myself.
Hmm.
And then seeing her like naturally her progression into her second career
Hmm.
um, was about helping people. So she went from giving like love and art in her own dancing to wanting to actually help all of those dancers. So that's why she
Hmm.
transitioned into massage therapy, cranial sacral therapy. She basically, my mom's a doctor without like the doctor in front of her name. Like she
Right.
knows like everything. She's like, I can't even name the list of how many things she's
Wow.
certified in. It's pretty crazy.
Uh-huh.
But again, the same kind of dedication that she had for her dancing is what she put into her second career. And she's all about helping people. Like I've never seen anyone in my life that just, I mean, pretty much besides your mom, because your mom is amazing like that too, who just like wants to help people just to help people and not for any other reasoning behind it.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I grew up watching my mom dance too. She danced with the Hartford Ballet, and she ended her career short to be closer to me in California, where I was growing up,
Yeah.
which was a huge sacrifice. And yeah, it's so awesome to see her. You know, she opened a Pilates studio with my stepdad, and that's kind of her full time gig. And she's also teaching ballet students now again too, which is really nice to see her back in that element. And I recently asked her because she's in the studio more now. Well, not now, but was and
Yeah.
will be once this thing passes. Do you miss it? I asked her, and she says, "Of course I miss it. Like once you're a dancer, it never leaves you, no matter
No,
what, really." Do you think your mom feels the same?
I think so. I think she's still that like artsy person and she still has that eye, and girl, I mean she's a New Yorker. She has her opinions, which I love.
Yeah,
I
that
love
doesn't leave you.
that never leaves you to have your like, no, that ballet was not so good, or that girl, she needed to use her turnout a bit more, like full on. Uh, Never in a mean way, obviously. Like she's always about like, oh, like I want to help that person. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, it's kind of funny. Like it really doesn't leave you ever.
Hmm.
Like I think once you're in that art form, you're in it for life. Even if you transition careers, like that's your base, your home, where you come
Yeah.
from. And your
So
mom
you
is
and I,
like with that too. Like I love it even
yeah,
when she me and gives me corrections. I'm like, yes, please.
yeah. We're always hungry for advice and corrections. Um, and especially from them because they give it in such a loving way, and they're tough. They're
Yeah,
they're you know they're not easy, but I guess it
you
depends
do it.
what sort of how you take it. I guess is
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say, and what you do with it, and it can be hard to have. I never really grew up with them in the studio with me, which I feel like our dynamics are a little bit different, you know.
Yeah.
She always have this sort of outside perspective and give me her opinion, and then I would be able to go in, you know, my studio, my little local school, and kind of work on it without her being there all the time, which I felt was important to have those own self discoveries
Oh, totally. Yeah.
and work on your technique um, within your own mind. You and I have partnered together a fair amount, not only, you know, at the National Ballet, but like we've done a couple of casting gigs together, which are always so much fun. And
I know. I love it.
yeah, I feel like we work super well together, and you know, I I uh, I think about like when things work, it's like we step off the stage and we're like, we look at each other sometimes, we're like, yeah, so good, so good. Everything, all the technical things worked, and felt like we were, you know, super together. Um and I feel like, and then like we look at each other and then we say, did you mark it? Yeah, I marked it.
Yeah. Well, and our marking is
In
like,
our marking. So
our,
I think that balance between knowing when to push and knowing when to hold back is key. And I think our explosive energy is like what feels like marking to us is reality, no different than what we're giving 200%. And like,
exactly.
this is something I've only recently discovered. I think a lot of young dancers, you know, discover this throughout their careers. Like, I'd
Yeah.
love to know how you've learned how to temper that energy of yours throughout your career. Was there a moment where you realized that giving 200% was not always the best option?
Yeah. Um, for me, it definitely came from our coaches more because
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like you can relate to this. Like, if I
Mm-hmm.
know I have more energy or I can do more and give more than I want to for the audience or for our coach or from myself, you know, like, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
ever feel like I'm not doing my all, but then that can be way too much energy. But on the inside, it doesn't feel that way. On the inside, it just feels like I know I can do this, so I need to get to that level so I don't feel like I'm not just, you know, it's another
Mm-hmm.
Monday or Tuesday. I'm just working my way through this. I never want to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was our coaches at work that really explained to me that, like, to finesse and really actually show what I'm trying to show internally by
Mm-hmm.
not giving like the 200%, it actually comes
Yeah,
across.
right.
But that, like, I want to say for me, like, they always tried to explain it to me when I was younger and I didn't really understand. And I want to say
Mm-hmm.
like the last 5 years were really when I was like,
Yeah,
okay, I get it. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like I'm working and I'm not giving my all, but I know that that's not what it looks like. And it actually
right.
looks more refined.
Yeah. I think that's funny though, because it looks a certain way, but it feels different. And then does that affect your satisfaction within that performance? I mean, you know, obviously it's good. Like I said, like when we feel good together, it's very super easy and didn't feel like much.
Yeah.
So you have this sort of contrast of it feeling good because it worked, but then you didn't, you know, give
Yeah,
everything that you want to give.
exactly. No, it sometimes, like, to be honest, like, yeah, I'll come off stage and I'll be like, oh, like, that punch that I would have wanted to give probably would have felt more satisfying coming off of stage. But to know that it looks
Yeah,
better kind of outweighs that sometimes.
outweighs.
But
That's
yeah, for
so
sure,
interesting.
off
Yeah,
stage, yeah, I know that probably looked really good, but oh, what it
yeah,
would have, like, inside if I could have just gone like, yes.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
How old were you? Oh, sorry, what was that?
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel the same. I pretty much feel the same exact way, Jordana. Honestly, like and to be honest, sometimes I just go for it. I'm just like, you know, I need to feel what this feels like, and
Yeah.
no matter what it looks like I'm not necessarily not caring, but I just, I need to, I need to say what I have to say
Yes.
with my body, and so
Totally.
yeah, I pick and choose which roles are I think I can, you know, get away with it a little bit more.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
how old were you when you came to Toronto? So you seem like you had a good head on your shoulders since you were a baby. Like
Since
you
I
knew
was
what
a
you
baby.
wanted. You knew what you wanted. You had ambition. You had plans,
My
and
mom has like
and
the best story when I was first day of kindergarten. She's dropping
uh,
me kindergarten. Before we even like get there, I turned to her and I'm like, "Don't cry." Like literally, like
like you knew it was
kindergarten.
happening.
I was like, "Don't cry. Hug
Oh my
me now.
gosh.
Don't hug me there. Like, don't embarrass me." Like literally bite-sized Jordana knew already at a very young age herself.
So when you joined you joined the National Ballet School, how old were you?
15, I think, the summer school. So like grade
Okay,
10.
got you. So you started in the summer school, and then you were probably just hoping to stay there for the year, right? Like you really liked it.
Yeah, because that whole summer program is basically your audition to
Uh-huh.
get into the full-time program.
Right.
And by that point,
And
like after making friends, Jenna was there. That's where Jenna
yeah,
Sabella, also in the company.
yes.
That's where we literally met for the first time, was that summer school.
You guys had an awesome chat on the National Ballet of Canada's Instagram Live. I watched it all.
It was fun. It was basically
Yeah.
just what we do every day. Like
Yeah. It was super fun to hear you guys'
was
stories together, and yeah, just talk super candidly and open. I love that. So check it out, anyone listening.
but
um yeah,
yeah,
so going into the National Ballet of Canada was just kind of like a natural progression for you, or you kind of
yeah.
did you have other companies on mind? Did you like want to go back to New York City and dance for like City Ballet or ABT or
I
companies
think when
there?
I was first at the school, then it kind of opened my eyes to what, I mean, there was more than just the bubble of my New York City company life. So
Hmm.
then it actually just made me look around at more companies. The school actually, because they're so well versed with all of the companies in Europe as well, made me also look to Europe, which I had never kind of thought of either.
Hmm.
But then by the time I reached my graduation and I had gone to look at other companies, and I knew our company just from watching them for my
Hmm.
high school,
Hmm.
I just loved our company. I loved what they
Hmm.
did. I loved the dancers. I loved, yeah, just everything. Like it just seemed like a good fit. And then
Hmm.
thankfully I got an apprentice contract.
Hmm.
But
Was
it was
that
still,
was that moment for you sort of like you knew that you were going to be here for the long run? Like you kind of had it made up in your mind. You're like,
yeah,
I'm gonna push for the top here. Like
yeah.
this is it.
Yeah, like especially like after even just being in the company for
Yeah,
just the,
seeing how it
yeah,
operates.
yeah, to like actually be in it and not just seeing it from an outside perspective. I was like, this
Yeah.
company amazing. Like I loved how the dancers worked together. That was
Uh,
huge. After going to see some other companies, I was like, oh wow, like you don't feel that family
mm,
unity necessarily in other companies. Like you saw like the people with their cliques and things like that, but I felt
mm,
like the company as a whole, you know, you might not like someone, but you really support them when you're on stage all together, because we're in this together. Like we're a
yeah.
company and like a dysfunctional family.
Hmm. Yeah, and dance has a lot to do with empathy, and I feel like you're a really empathetic person. I always
Yeah,
see you looking out for the younger dancers in the company, and you're so generous and supportive of your friends and colleagues. Um,
yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about ways you're giving back to dancers outside of the National Ballet? Any
I
sort of projects
actually,
you've done?
yeah, I recently did a project. I was a part of a ballet symposium for Black dancers down in the States, run by this woman whose name is Teresa Ruth Howard, and she runs Memoirs of Black Ballet. So she contacted the company and asked if I would like to take part
Oh,
in
nice.
this symposium. And basically what it did is it brought Black dancers all together,
Mm,
different generations, and we were mentors and teachers to the new generation of students. And it
Wow.
was life changing for me. Like, it was just so beautiful to sit there in a room full of people and, hear people's problems that I looked up to, like at City Ballet, like that were there,
Yeah.
that went through, and
Yeah.
then things that I felt that I've gone through being a mixed dancer, and then hearing what the kids now are saying, like how they feel, and then
Yeah.
literally just coaching them, like teaching class, coaching them, and some of the girls like still message with me like afterwards,
Really?
like
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it was really special, and it just kind of lit a fire even more so in me. Like, you see me, like I love helping people at work. Like, I
Hmm.
love coaching. I love just
Yeah.
helping people.
Yeah.
So
You got my correction. Left curl,
that
Skylar.
girl, I'm telling you, that girl too are just like
It's so funny. I was trying pirouettes here in my dining room, and like I was just failing. I was like falling out of 3 pirouettes and 2 pirouettes even, and I just reminded myself. I was like, oh yeah, what would Jordana say? Left curl, and then it worked.
I'm telling you, you find that like one funny comment to help
Yeah.
someone, that's also what I love, like helping people. Like, I don't want to be like drill sergeant or mean, or because I
Mhm.
don't feel
Mhm.
like that helps people. Like, I want
Yeah.
to do it in a fun, positive light so that you're like, yes, I do want to try. Yes, I want to
Yeah.
get better. Like, I am an amazing dancer because we all are. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I'm here.
Yeah, you're so, I don't know if this is a weird word, but you're like a sponge. Like you take in corrections so well, and
Yeah.
you're so generous at being vulnerable to that, and then you give. Like you squeeze
Yeah.
yourself and you give back
Oh,
um
that's a good way
so
of,
well too.
yeah. And it's hard. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, when you're, especially like us, when you're giving like 200% and you're like trying your hardest, and then someone tells you
Yeah.
that like that's not working, you're just like, ah, but
Yeah.
you have to take that, and then you're like, okay, so now I'm going to take whatever that correction is, and I'm going to like put it to its max. And
Yeah.
everyone needs stuff in different ways. There's some days that I need to be told, it might be the same correction, but I need it told XYZ or like ABC, and then my mind understands it a bit different for that day. So you
Right.
have to learn how to say things in different ways to help yourself as well as other people if you want to coach and help them.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of us are showing the best versions of ourselves on social media right now in this crisis. Actually,
Totally.
yeah, I think um, we're all giving back in our various ways, which I think is awesome for free too. All this stuff.
Yeah.
No one's charging. I mean, there are the odd classes here and there that you could pay for, um, but there's so much content out there
Well, I think social media is
for
fine.
anyone. Yeah.
Like, social media is finally becoming what I think social media was supposed to be. Like, I've seen that like
Yeah.
quote a bunch of times, and I fully agree with it.
Yeah.
Like this, like, it's amazing that like people are now going to get to know more about you and what you're doing and the amazingness,
Yeah.
and the dancers who want to take part of that amazingness.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, and I
awesome.
think like this thing in particular, like I found like I started it out of, you know, pivoting into this direction that I didn't know, but I knew that it's what I had to do.
Yeah.
And I liked it enough that I put in, all my energy to this to this podcast. And now I can't imagine not doing it. It's like,
Right.
oh, this thing is just a part of SCDC now. Like I want to continue to
100%.
interview all the artists that want to be a part of this collective. And yeah, so I think that was a really exciting moment for me and my
No, it,
realization with how things will turn out after
yeah.
COVID. How do you define yourself as being a successful ballet dancer now?
Ooh.
You've had a really wonderful career thus far, and I think
Yeah.
you will continue to develop and improve as we all strive to. But what is being a successful dancer like?
I think it's like my own personal goals that I've set for myself, and feeling like I've achieved them, or like I've come close to achieving them. Like, obviously, like, you always add more goals that you want to do as you go along, but like
Mm-hmm.
this point in my career, I'm like, I've given my all, no matter what role I'm given. that shows like the type of person and artist that I am. So to me, that's like success right there.
Mhm.
And I don't like comparing myself to other people,
Yeah, it's
which is
hard.
really, really hard. Like, you know, there's some days where you're just like, oh, like I wish I got to do that role. Like, why didn't I get to do that? You know,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it happens a lot. I try not to dwell in that because I don't think that that's necessarily positive. You know, like I try to spin it and be like, okay, so what do I need to work on in order to get roles like that?
Yeah.
But I think that's like a huge thing. Like if you're just concentrating on someone else's career and not your own, like you can't define your own success by somebody else. You have to define it by your own
Yeah.
personal goals and what you can do, because we're all so different. Like my
Yeah.
tongue is very different than anybody else's tongue too.
Yeah. 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 This is a
That's what,
great tendu, though.
thank you. I do enjoy my tondus. I do like
So were there any resources that have helped you on that journey to success, or your
ooh,
definition of success for yourself that you just explained, which I loved? But
yeah.
were there any people that sort of imparted um, that advice or helped you?
I think just watching a lot of people at our company, I mean, because I don't really know that many people in other companies, but just watching our company and seeing the people that, you know, really were just trying to stay positive and focused and, you know, on themselves and not worrying about other people. Um, that you can see that in their dancing. So I
Yeah,
think just watching
and
that, like,
you
for,
saw that it works for them, so it's like
exactly.
I wanna emulate that.
Yeah, like your own personal happiness, right? Like I don't want to feel like I'm not enough because somebody else is doing something. Like I know that I'm enough and I'm a good
Yeah,
dancer just
yeah,
for myself. Like I don't want to look at somebody
yeah,
else and, oh, like I'm not good. Like no, like I am. I'm in the company. Like
yeah,
but I'm good.
yeah.
Yeah.
You are, and never forget that, and never forget those first moments when you walked in that building, and
Yeah.
and remember the way you felt when you first walked into that building.
Totally.
And yeah, those tend to get lost as we age within the
Oh
career,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, because you're just thinking about like you want to get better, you want to reach that next level, like,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people. Like there's only but so many shows, so many roles, so you're not gonna
mhm,
always get to do something, which is hard. But like just knowing that you do get to do something that you love and that you're there and that you're working on yourself, that's the food for the art.
absolutely. I want to talk about fashion now because I know it's something you're interested and passionate about. And
Uh,
so, can we expect a new line of clothing from you and your husband, Jordan?
I think that would be absolutely amazing. So
I could see
Jordan
that.
works in bespoke suits and I just love fashion in general.
Yeah.
I like if someone was like, "Yes, we will support you with that money." Like, "Oh yeah, I'll totally do
Right.
that."
Yeah, it takes money to start up a new clothing line, I can
It's
imagine.
hard in a store. Like I don't know like if I could be a boss. I mean, I know I could be a
Right.
boss, but
Yeah.
um but
I
yeah, I
could see
would
you
love
being
that.
like a curator of
Yeah,
of sort of like assembling
yes,
brands
yes,
and
yes. I would love
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Somehow bring arts into it and like fashion because I feel like they literally walk hand in hand. Like when you see our costumes, like some of them are
Yeah.
just like, yeah, like you could wear that
Yeah.
on the street.
Oh my gosh. It's so
But
true.
it would be so
Yeah.
fun with our little like same initials.
Yeah, JD squared.
Maybe square
So for people
the
that
line.
don't know, Jordan helped design my wedding suit actually for
Yes,
my
he
wedding,
did.
and that was so awesome working with him. And yeah, you guys are both amazing people. Wish we could see you.
I know we miss you guys.
Yeah. So um, I want to talk about like what you feel the most grateful for in
Mm.
maybe just life or in your career. Like, what is it for you?
I feel pretty lucky, honestly. I'm surrounded by family who are nothing but supportive and loving, which is huge to me on a daily basis, and friends who, you
Hmm.
know, are always there for me no matter what. And then, yeah, having my husband who like puts up with this crazy ballerina all the time. I don't know. Yeah. And then,
Yeah, that's a lot.
I
That's a lot to be
mean,
grateful
just
for you.
like
So.
the family side of it, like family, friends, husband.
Mm-hmm.
And then to be in a company that I love so much and want to give back to so much, I feel super
Mm-hmm.
blessed by that as well. Like, I think of all the people that are super unhappy, like with the company they're in, or like want to move, and like I don't have that feeling. Like, I love our
Mm-hmm.
company. I feel supported, like from colleagues and staff. Yeah, like I'm
So
happy.
for people that may not be feeling the way you feel, what advice would you want to impart on them? Like for the next younger generation listening,
Yeah,
or for dancers currently that are wanting to make that move, what advice would you give them?
I think you really have to look at companies that share similar values to yourself. I know that's hard to do, like just looking at a company. Like, you really have to go there and feel the atmosphere, see
Yeah.
how the dancers are interacting with each other, because I think that that's a huge thing. Like, you don't want to go
Mm-hmm.
somewhere where you're just going to feel animosity or like having to compete with someone. Like, I mean, unless that's your thing and you like that and that fuels you. Me personally, that
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
But I think you really have to find a place where you're like, okay, does my style fit that company style? First of all, that's
Yeah.
huge. If you go and they hire you but you don't really fit in and you stick out, like maybe it's not a bad way, but then you're not being used, like you're not going to be
Yeah.
happy there. So you want to find a
Yeah.
company, their style suits you, the type of rep that they're doing offers opportunities so
Yeah.
that can get roles, and that
Yeah.
the dancers themselves there have a nice ecosystem.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Creating that positive work environment all the
Oh,
way. I also think it's about going where people want you too. Say you audition
yeah,
and you really want to get in this company, and you think it suits your style, but you get a contract from another where you may not think it's your um, suited to your style, but they really want you.
yeah.
Would you say like go to where they want you, or go to where you think you fit in?
Ooh. If someone like the director and like staff
Yeah,
really love you, like I would say give that a try, because
yeah.
that
Because
is
then
me.
maybe in the long run you'll be happier.
Yeah. And you might
Yeah.
realize like the style that you thought wasn't yours could be yours. Or they can
Mm.
help you if they love you and like really want you there, then they can actually help you get to be that style that fits the
Yeah.
company a bit more if they're willing to
Right.
invest
Right.
in that.
That's
But if
perfect.
they go somewhere and they're not, then that's way harder.
Totally. So how do you find growth in ballet and sort of like reinvent yourself within this art form? Because we're always changing, day to day, week to week, month to month. And
Yeah.
how do you sort of, reinvent yourself within this crazy world
Yeah.
of
I think
ballet?
it has to do with the type of rep that we do. And even sometimes going back to rep that we've done in the past, kind
Mm,
of wherever you are mentally kind of changes your outlook on what you're about to tackle, whatever the new piece is. Um, like when we were working with Foresight recently, like that kind of, even though I've done second detail since like was like new kid in the company, it was like
yeah,
a whole different experience working with him and his ideas. And it wasn't like a blanket idea. Like he literally had ideas for every single person. So the ideas
yeah,
that he actually gave me, I was like, oh wow, like I can
yeah,
use that thought of my back in that exact little tiny spot that he told me to think of. I can
yeah,
use that in Sleeping Beauty, or I can use that in
right.
this.
Yeah.
So
So it's
I think,
so it's having the variety and then applying that to
yeah,
everyone, and
and
or
just new
having the
ideas. Like
yeah,
you don't want to keep the same concept for your whole career, because I
right.
don't think you can grow with that, like
Mm-hmm.
emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
like any
Mm-hmm.
of the
Mm-hmm.
ways. But if you're open to new ideas than
Yeah.
and try to figure out how to apply them to different styles.
Yeah.
I think how you grow and shape
I
yourself.
think that's a perfect kind of segue back to our moms. Actually, they were both open to new ideas,
Totally.
and they sort of reinvented themselves within their new jobs,
Yeah.
which I think is incredible. Do you think your mom like applies her dancing knowledge to what she does now?
Oh, totally. Being, and I think your mom, I think of your mom the same way too. It's like they went from being so physical themselves to then helping other people with their injuries and
Mm-hmm.
just getting strong themselves with their own bodies. So having already that self sense of body, and then being able to transfer that to helping other people, like kind of is a no-brainer. Like it's just, they're just so good at that, you know?
Yeah, they're so
And I
good
think
at everything.
they really are. Like, I don't understand. I
Uh,
always, Jordan
yeah.
always laughs at me because I'll just like call my mom about like anything, and I literally call her Dr. Mom. I'm like, okay, I need you to put your Dr. Mom hat on. How do I fix this? Or I'm like, this one bone in my foot hurts, and then she'll give me like 17 different things that I could do to fix it that will be
Yeah.
like on your right side for your left foot, you know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's cool. They're both like involved, like still physically within sort of the dance world, so to speak,
Totally.
with rehabilitation and, training and coaching, which, yeah, I just feel so lucky.
I know. Don't you feel like we get that like extra bonus because our moms are able to help us in those ways?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Huge. Love our
Jordana,
mom.
thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon. It's been an absolute pleasure as always.
Miss
Can't
you,
wait
Scott.
till we're back in the studio together.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
of course.
Sending love to everyone.
Sending it back. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to A Seat at the Bar. This podcast has been brought to you by me, Skylar, here in my apartment in downtown Toronto. I'd also like to thank my friend and colleague at the National Ballet of Canada, Joe Chapman, for lending me the necessary equipment for recording this. If you loved this episode, head over to iTunes or wherever you're listening to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's much appreciated. Also, be sure to follow us on our Facebook and Instagram page for the latest news on what SCDC is doing to bring dance closer to you. Until next time, be well.